Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the Season 2 finale of Upload. Great season finale. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, let's pick up with Nora and Nathan as they're trying to figure out how they're going to get access to the code that's Nathan's code that's in Freon, and the only way to access it would be a backdoor he put in, but it has to deal with his retina. Now, I thought the solution was going to be like, ultimately they find out that Ingrid's growing him a new body, they decapitate his head, and then use that, but I guess like he would need to be alive inside the body. You would assume you wouldn't need that, I mean, because it is a copy of your body, so, but maybe if there's no life behind those eyes, it doesn't count. Like, I'm sure maybe your retinas change when you die. Like, type of situation, like, I mean, obviously there's a metaphorical, spiritual aspect of like, oh yeah, the light in your eyes kind of disappears, right? But maybe there is like a scientific thing of like, with a dead body, and I mean, especially a body that was technically never alive because it's just a cloned body that, I don't know. Because you would think that'd be a simple solution, especially with the whole, like, yeah, worrying about downloading Nathan, and that has not worked out. It's like, oh, it's worked out for, you know, what was it? 80 of 700 pigeons, so giving you a less than, let me reiterate that, a less than 1 out of 7 chance of not dying and your head exploding, so. But either way, Ingrid is doubling down on the whole baby thing, and she's so excited. And I love the AI guy, like, sprucing her up and everything. And it ends up being that conversation where we kind of get into the nitty-gritty of it. And it was something I brought up in the previous episode. Like I said, it's not every couple who does this, but it is something that can happen from time to time where it's like, hey, you're having trouble in a relationship? Well, let's get married or have a baby. Like, that's going to fix everything. She even says, like, right, Nathan, the moment he finds out about the baby and we get the baby, he'll put all his energy and love into that baby, and by connection, he'll love me too. It's like, that is dark. That is sad. That it's like, she's so desperate for Nathan's love because, like, growing up with her family, love being what it was, love, I think, was so transactional and so circumstantial, and it was just like, I mean, if you'd even call there being any love at all, and I think for the first time, she feels like someone, I mean, because all anyone in life ever wants to do is be seen, and I think for the first time in her life, she kind of felt seen by Nathan and embraced by him. Like I said, like, everything around him is good, his relationship with his niece and his mother, and I think all that stuff that she is missing in her life, and so by being with Nathan, it's also like, because they were also different people when they met. She still latched on to the Nathan who was, yes, he's still a little narcissistic, but he's not as bad. He's grown and changed so much, which she's grown too, but at the same time, she always does a lot to backpedal and regress. So I think it is like, we are also not the same two people who fell in love. I mean, to be fair, Nathan was never just kind of like head over heels in love with her. It's like, because even he was like, forever seems like a long time when he was in the process of being uploaded, right? So he was never kind of like that crazy about her to begin with, because he even admits in this episode, the only reason why he stayed with her even now, it's like, well, even though her dad having been responsible for my death, it's like, she uploaded for me so I wouldn't be alone, so he felt indebted to her. That's not the basis of a good relationship. It's like, oh yeah, I'm only with you out of like, because he even said at the beginning of the season, she's not that bad, I could grow to love her. It's like, it shouldn't be that. Love, that's the thing of like, that interesting conversation came up in like Family Law too, the TV show Family Law, about like, right, loving someone shouldn't be hard. It's like, I don't want to be someone's hard in the regard of, it shouldn't be, like, it should come a little easy. Like, I'm not saying like everything in love is going to be easy, but you shouldn't have to try that hard to love somebody. It should come naturally, it should flow instantly. So look at Nathan, what Nathan and Nora have. They're definitely in love with each other, but circumstances in life just keep getting in their way, so. But because even the AI guy's like, yeah, and the moment he finds out that you've basically been lying to him for months and that his reason for staying with you was because he felt indebted to you, but she got super pissed because she knows on some level it was true, but she also thought like, no. Once he finds out the truth, he'll like, it'll all work out. She's living in this fairy tale. Like, you know, Ingrid is delusional. We get to that later on in the episode, like how crazy she is. Like I said, it's like, I was so curious the moment, like, what was going to happen to Ingrid when it is all said and done. And we find out, like I said, we'll talk about when we get there. But Luke is one of the people really pushing for him, like, yo, you need to break up with her. Like, you need to stop feeling so guilty about it. Like, the fact is, you don't love Ingrid and you don't really want the baby, so kind of be honest with her. We also find out about Luke's circumstances that he's having G-rated dreams now because Alicia like put like kind of like almost parental control over his dreams, and he hates them. But I love at the end of the episode, our little post-credit thing, or really mid-credits thing, is him kind of actually enjoying it. And he's like, oh, like completing the putting the letters and completing the words and actually getting super hyped about it when he gets banana right. He's like, yeah. He kind of gets into it because he was like, oh, this is so stupid. So he got apple right. He was like, oh, okay. And then he couldn't get plum, but then he got banana. He's like, yeah, started enjoying it. So, but also, like, he was so excited when Nathan ended up breaking up with Ingrid because he tried to take it slow. Like, yeah, I don't want a baby. This isn't what I want. It's like, oh, but because of the virtual aspect of it, it's like, yeah, he could end up being the one to carry the baby. It's like, but you don't have to worry. When your water breaks, you can make it whatever you want. Gatorade, Malta, even chocolate milk. It's like, but where would it be coming out of? Your anus. It's like, okay, yeah, I don't want to do that. But Ingrid's like, no, come on, we have to do it. I even like, oh, whose eyes should she have? And Nathan's just like, I have no idea. She's like, well, we'll give the baby mine. It's like, once again, taking complete control of the situation. But Nathan's like, I don't want this Ingrid. And her last gamble to like get him to stay was like, no, don't worry. The fact is, I'm working so hard. Like, your body's 98% ready. Then you can hug your mom. You can hug your niece. It's like, yeah, but then you hug me. It's like, but you're dead. Second surprise, I'm still alive. And he's like, thank you, Ingrid. Now I'm not indebted to you anymore. It's like, I'm finally free. Walks away. Basically, he's moving in with Luke, which Luke is so happy. He's like, okay, dude, I'll put your shoes wherever. The fact of the matter is, I got the couch ready for you. It's going to be great. It's going to be amazing. But then, like, the plan is, hey, instead of Nora going to the Luds for help like she initially was going to, which we'll get to that in a second, Nathan's deciding, like, right, I'll download myself despite the dangers of it, because even if it only gives him 24 hours, he needs to make sure that he's got to do this, put his own life at stake, because it means I'll be able to save so many people in the process because this whole Freon situation. But going to the Nora and Ivan thing, where she thought he was hitting on her, is like, no. Obviously, everything between him and Monique is great, but it's like, oh no, like, I do respect you, Nora. It's like, I can never, like, he was like, I'm the least amount of attracted I am to you right now, because I could never be attracted to someone or have sex with someone I respect. I was like, there's a compliment there, yes, but it is the most severe effed up backhanded compliment, because you can only love and be with women that, or have sex and be with women who you don't respect. It's like, well, I mean, you don't respect your Roomba and everything, which that's just all, like I said, it's almost meant to be sweet, because it's like, oh, he respects Nora, but it's like his mentality of like, I only hook up with people I don't respect is all like I said, all kinds of problematic and fucked up. But they ultimately end up going to the Luds, and Nora convinces them to help her, like, go through with our plan. It's like, I know you want to stop all of this, and Nathan is willing to give up. Like, if you were to go, like, would you really give up your chance in heaven to try and help people here on earth? He's willing to do that now, so we got to back him up. Mateo was kind of reluctant. I love that it's like, wait, so you'd only help me if I'm sleeping with you? He's like, whoa, that's not what I said. You're putting words in my mouth. And Rejoice is like, oh no, it kind of sounds like that's what you're saying. So his hand was kind of forced, so it's like, oh, even on the train, like, should we talk about relationship? She's like, oh, man, look at the Wi-Fi, and ends up playing Billy Madison. I was like, hey, I have not seen that movie in so long. Did someone, like, why that movie specifically? Did someone on this movie, on this TV show have some connection to, Billy Madison? Maybe there's no deeper reasoning behind it. Maybe it's just kind of like, hey, let's pick a movie and we pick Billy Madison. I don't know, I just thought that was just kind of interesting. Like I said, maybe there's a deeper connection there I'm just not aware of. I tried looking into it a little bit and I wasn't sure. Like, I didn't really, like, dive deep. I kind of did very surface level searching, but either way. They make their way to the facility and they get to Nathan's body. End up having to basically restrain Ingrid because she's there and just kind of sitting over his body and just like, oh, you don't worry, it's all going to work out, baby. And Nora's there and she's like, oh, like, I know what you're doing. Like, once again, like, Ingrid being very possessive of, like, he's mine, he's all I have. It's like, she seems insane. To be fair, Ingrid's always been insane, but this is the most unhinged. To be fair, it's been escalating this entire season because the way she's been unhinged the entire season, but it just culminates in this moment. And Nora talks to her. It's like, right, you'll find someone that it doesn't have to be so hard with someone. I get it. You care about Nathan, but Nathan wants to do something. This isn't just about me or all the people here. He's going to help a lot of people. And I know you care about Nathan and, don't let this be the you that's here right now. Like, let Nathan see the real you. Because she's like, right, despite the family you've grown up in, like, she's like, a lot of people chalk it up to, like, right, you had your family and you're, like, you never really had to work hard. Like, things have been easy and you're always happy. It's like, once again, it's like, this all stems from an unhappiness of her childhood. It's like, yeah, just because someone's rich, you can't always put everyone in a bubble of, like, yeah, money doesn't always mean happiness. I mean, just because you grew up in a, felt wealthy, happy. I mean, yes, you're more likely to be happy in some other regards. You never had to worry about anything, but that doesn't mean you still don't have your own concerns, that you still didn't have an upbringing that was a lack of love. And she even had that conversation with her mom, like, last episode of, like, right, I feeling like I had to go my entire life feeling like I was your biggest mistake. But either way, Nora's words really got to her, and so it's like, right, I'll help. And she moved aside, but they knew they couldn't really trust her, so they kept her restrained. And I love that Boris ended up helping them. I love that he was able to sneak in, it's like, oh, and led him to the gray zone. And it's like, end scene. I'm like, okay, Boris, at least you did something. Because he was so happy when he's like, whoa, you're going to Hollywood? Take me with you. And they're like, no, Boris, keep digging. Like, looking for, I think, for potatoes and stuff like that. But it's like, Boris kind of had his moment to shine. And it's like, yeah, I kind of helped save the day because the other AIs were gathering around to try and stop him from entering the gray zone. But it's like, yeah, Boris helped. They must have already had one backed up because that's definitely not the same one that Mateo was in, because if it was, like, that one didn't have a beard. This one does. It has Boris's beard, so they must have made one. To be fair, the one who redesigned it was Nora, so they probably just made another copy of him just in case they needed it, and Boris stepped in this regard. Not unless it was the same one and they just slapped a beard on it so it fits Boris, because the fact is it has a beard just makes you go, why is that? So it had to either be like a copy they made like sometime after the fact, or it's the same one, they just slapped a beard on it, and because Boris wanted to look a lot more like him. I doubt that. I'm assuming it's the former, not the latter, but it's not that important. But ultimately, it all works out, and Nathan's alive, and they're on their way to kind of stop this whole Freon situation, which I even thought was interesting when Mateo was like, oh, don't, so, like, Rejoice and Nora should be in the room, and I'll stay with Nathan. And Nora's just kind of looking like, and Mateo's like, I'm kidding. Obviously, you two will be bunk together. It's like, yeah, it's still kind of awkward. Which I even love this scene where he was trying to help out Nathan's body. He's like, no, I got this. He's trying to handle it. I just got to approach it a different way. And it's like, I think does he need some help? He sounds like he needs some help. It's like, no, I need some help when Nathan's body falls on him. It's like, yeah, that reluctancy to ever ask for help. I mean, even though there's other people there. Oh, God, I also forgot that whole Ivan bit where he's like, we could talk about your relationship, so what's your favorite fetish? And Mateo just leans back and just eyes closed, like, we're not about to do this, Ivan. But either way, Nora and Nathan, it's actually a really cute moment. I think it's actually even cuter because it goes on for so long. Like the making out, I'm like, once again, as an actor, it's like, that's gotta be so awkward, because God knows like how long that scene actually is, how many times you had to stop, and I mean, the camera stays on it, lingers on it while you're making out. It's like pretty extensive makeout session. I mean, once again, it's not a sex scene, it's the beginnings of one, it's the softcore elements of a sex scene, but it's still kind of like, that's gotta be awkward as hell. But there's also like this adorableness of like, got a lot of catching up to do, and it's just, it's so beautiful and sweet. And I'm like, oh, that's so dope. So it's interesting, like, obviously, we have that, like, obviously is the main crux of the episode, but there's so many other splintering storylines. Like, first and foremost, I'm about to call her Alicia because that's what Lucy calls her. But Alicia, once again, it doesn't seem like her and Nora made up, but it's like, yeah, Alicia's going down the route of like, right, she's getting a new place because she's getting promoted again. Now she's going to be making $100,000. The place she's getting right now, I think it's like, it's on the lower tier, but it's still a really dope place. And it's just kind of like, right, move your way up. It is kind of that suspicious thing of, well, why is Lucy moving you up so quickly? I mean, it could just easily be like, well, Lucy's starting to like you more and more. That's all there is to it. But also, it's like, she even said it herself of like, yeah, you'll be on Horizon's leash. And it's like, you know, Alicia's not thinking much of it, but it is something that Nora brought up last episode of, the more like higher up in the ranks you go, the more terrible things you'll have to do, and it is going to be a lot of compromising yourself. It's like, right, you've worked hard, you don't, you know, and you are moving up, and you want to be able to kind of afford a nice place. It's like, that's not a bad thing, but the problem is, the conversation you have to have is it going to be worth it? Because Alicia's not going to probably worry too much about that. I mean, especially after her blow up with Nora last episode, where it's just like, I'm going to look after me then. I might be selfish, but, you know, it's very human to want to do something to kind of benefit yourself. I mean, because you have every right to like, hey, you're struggling right now to work 2 jobs just to get the terrible place you live in. Of course, you want to be able to move up and be able to take care of yourself and live the life you believe you deserve. So you can't fault someone for that. But the conversation, I think Alicia's going to have to come face to face with, because I don't think she really knows the ins and outs of all of this, because her and Nora haven't really been on the same wavelength about that, because Nora didn't really fill her in. Maybe if she did, maybe the conversation would be different. But it is like Alicia said last episode, you never gave me a choice. You made that the choice for me by lying to me about what this was. This wasn't some hangout outing. You were on some mission and you didn't tell me what was what. You lied to me. If you had told me the truth, like who knows what choice I would have made. It's kind of a moot point now because you made the choice for me. So we have that element to it. We also have Nathan's mom trying to upload herself. It might be a thing of, well, considering like that was like, it was she's already probably done by the time Nathan. So it's like, if you shut down the whole Freon situation, what does that mean for his mom? That's probably going to be this complicated thing for Nathan, because it's like, if I do this, it could probably lead to my mom or anyone else that's already uploaded. I mean, because I'm assuming it's like, because she's like, oh yeah, like I'm going ahead of you. So like they are getting uploaded right now. And so it's like, it's beyond the point of like re-downloading her, you know? I'm sure that process is already done by the time they've already awoken Nathan, because it was like daytime when that happened. But then like, well, to be fair, we are also talking about different time zones and stuff like that. So because it was dark when they were leaving LA. I mean, well, we don't know where they were when they were on the train at that point in time. They might have just been leaving LA, but it was dark outside. It was like in the middle of the day when she was at Free. So if we're lucky, she had to go back home because they shut it. Oh, it's been too long. Because there was a pretty lengthy line of people out there. So obviously, Nathan's niece wasn't too happy about it. It's like, because Nathan has no idea his mom's doing this, because she wants to kind of keep it a secret and surprise everyone. So that's kind of a big wrinkle in all of this, because she could end up being like a casualty in all of this. We'll see. We also have Ingrid, like I brought up before, being even more unhinged, because she refuses to let Nathan go, and she's grabbing like DNA from his like hair follicles from like his brush, and she's like, oh, no one's going to get on her way, not even that Narma. It's like, geez, she literally told you her name. We've met like 6 times, told you her name like at that time you still got it wrong, and now you're getting it wrong. Even that you know, understandable because she's very conceited, and I mean, I think it speaks volumes. The fact is she can't get Nora's name right, but she can get Luke's name right. She does say like Luke whatever, but it's still like she still gets Luke right. To be fair, you have a more personal connection with him because he's banging your grandma, so there's that element to it. But aside from all of that, there is also the Tinsley situation, which is going to be like, oh, that's, you think, man, it's like, you have two unhinged women in your life, dude. You have your now ex-girlfriend, but then you also have the whole situation with Tinsley, who's like, oh, I can't find Nathan. I mean, you know, every day I check up on him. I mean, not because like I'm obsessed or anything, because that would be weird and inappropriate, but it's like, oh, well, let's back him up. So I'm like, that's not good. So what that means, because when was that backup of Nathan made? Is this a backup for when he first got uploaded? So it's a copy of that Nathan, so that Nathan hasn't gone through everything. So we could kind of have like a soft reboot thing of Nora and this Nathan could have all these moments, but the problem is that that Nathan is also the Nathan that's still in a relationship with Ingrid, because he's kind of still a bad person and she's kind of tiptoeing back to her bad habits. So they could be a perfect thing. I mean, Luke could technically have his buddy back. So that's the thing of once Nathan dies, like I said, it depends on when that backup's from, and I feel like it's most likely not less like, because who knows how often people get backed up. So not unless it's Nathan from like when he was being like bounced around from like after the whole Lakeview thing last season when his mom was trying to find him, because he has to be moved out. Like not less like they backed him up when he got brought back to Lakeview, but who knows? They make such a significant point of it that it's like it's going to be a massive reboot of like, yeah, he's not going to remember anything. He's going to go back to being the dickish Nathan. He's going. I that's why I just get the feeling that it has to be a Nathan from the very beginning of this series when he first got uploaded. We'll see. But obviously you couldn't join that with the fact is that obviously Nathan's body's already falling apart because his nose is starting to bleed, so he doesn't have that much time. So this Nathan will die and they'll be stuck. Everyone will be stuck with the old Nathan, which once again will benefit Ingrid, but we'll ultimately have to wait to see how that plays out. Obviously this season was on the shorter side. I'd actually looked into it. It wasn't purposeful, but it was also kind of a creative choice where it's like, I was reading this interview from Robbie Amell where he was saying that basically the amount of time it took to film, I don't know if that counts the post-production aspect of it or is it just like the filming, but he was basically saying like the amount of time it took to do the 10 episodes of season 1, you were basically taking that amount of time for season 2 because this is also like because of COVID protocols on filming. Because this season came out last year, but it was also in the mid, so that meant it had to be filmed sometime 2021. I feel like you don't hear it as much about those protocols during filmings. I don't hear it get talked about at all, but I'm assuming it's still baked into a lot of productions, all productions going forward. I'm sure it's because COVID isn't like the thing that gets talked about as much because we're not as in the middle of the pandemic and everything, but it does happen. People still get it. It's still out there. I mean, you know, so that's why I'm like, like I said, so that's why I'm like, I'm not fully sure if like those protocols still exist or not, but like that cut into, and it's still kind of that cliffhanger place to leave it, but I see that some people were not too happy about, well, for one, the direction the season's kind of going storyline wise and also ending it there when obviously there's still a lot more to go for, but still, you know, I think it is kind of a perfect spot to end off. I mean, also I'm in a better position than a lot of people because I got to this so late. The new season's literally starting tomorrow, maybe even tonight, because like sometimes shows on this particular streamer, I could say Prime Video, but you know, because obviously things have, like the writers have gotten, you know, a lot of what they wanted. They came out victorious in the end. Obviously things have, at the time of recording this, I think stuff with SAG-AFTRA has not worked out. I have not kept up with the exact details of why that went down the way it did. I don't know if that's publicly known at this point in time. It probably is. Like I said, I just haven't like read up more recently about that. But that's my last update was like the SAG-AFTRA situation of like that didn't pan out. My point is like everyone deserves getting paid what they're owed. So yeah, but my point was with Prime Video, they have a tendency to drop stuff like the night before. So if something is dropping Friday, technically it drops on Thursday night. It happens with a lot of stuff. I've noticed that more and more with like every show I watch on Prime Video. But yeah, so it's probably like more like it's dropping tonight, but more officially it's dropping tomorrow at the time of me recording this. So I get to jump into the season like almost immediately after finishing this one. So, but I'm excited to see where season 3 takes us. I have not watched any of the trailers, obviously, because I hadn't finished season 2. So I'm excited to see where things go as the season progresses, and I mean, when the season starts and kind of progresses, to see how things ultimately play out and where we go from here. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good